Okay, well, it looks like we're live now. So this is the second episode of the AndroidMeter Show. I have Nick and Eric with me. Say hello, guys.
Nick and Eric. You mean
That's
Nathan and Eric?
Nathan and Eric, sorry.
hello.
Hey,
So today we're going to be talking about Google I/O, Android Wear, the OnePlus phone, Android TV, Project Era, just a widespread of everything that's in the news lately. So let's start with Google I/O. I know I was excited to register for Google I/O this morning until they decided to cut that off at midnight. Um, what do you guys think about the date change? Like, I know they probably did it to just make it easier for people to, like, they probably didn't finish the back end process. They want to make sure it didn't fail like all the other times Google I/O has
yeah.
tried to get tickets.
Yeah, I'm assuming that's why they changed it. I mean, either that or they just want the Magic Band to go. But other than that, I'm not sure. I guess it's because of the backbone stuff. And I just know last year, I know with Nathan, it was a nightmare. I remember we were in Hangouts, we were up late, and then boom, tickets were gone.
Yeah, it's something where probably they just didn't have the lottery process ready yet. They might have found a last-minute bug, decided to switch it up. In the past, at least the last two times, it's been kind of buggy, and so they're probably trying to just refresh what people think of the entire I/O sign-up process.
But even though they're refreshing it this year so that it's just a random draw, so you're basically winning the lottery, why do you think they went this way? When last month or 2 months ago, when it was announced, the dates were announced, they said there would be an application or something that you had to get past. I was really hoping that they were going to like make you prove that you had something on the Play Store, because that's not hard to throw an APK up there, but I wanted some kind of way of not letting non-developers into a developers conference.
I think no matter what, you're going to get non-developers. Quite honestly, anybody that's willing to pay $900 to go, that's not a developer, right? If they were just given the basic stipulation of you need to have something in the Play Store, they find an app online that's already available. There's plenty of them. You know, you could just do a quick Google search and download it and then just resubmit the code. I know personally, it's kind of nice the way they have it more open. And the reason I say that is that it actually allows somebody that's newer to development that might not know the right things yet to get in still. Furthermore, you got to remember I/O is for more than just Android developers.
Exactly. I was actually about to say that myself.
It's not just people that submit APKs. You know, somebody that does Chrome apps might not know exactly what to do with an Android app, and they're not going to, you know, an actual developer isn't going to be willing typically to just copy somebody else's code and slam it onto the internet and be like, hey, I made this. So I think that's kind of where it came from. Whenever I went in 2012, though, I had been programming for about 5 or 6 months, I believe. I had only known JavaScript from a language standpoint, and it was pretty rudimentary JavaScript. You know, I knew how to do stuff with jQuery, I knew how to do stuff with PhoneGap, but I wasn't necessarily extremely skilled or anything like that. But I/O also gave me a huge boost from a developer standpoint, and has really helped me stay, I don't think loyal is the right word, but I am more open to Google products than some other products. You know, and I think I/O had a large deal to play with it. I mean, come on. You know, like that wouldn't be a thing if it wasn't for that. And so I think that's kind of where they're coming from too. Google tends to approach everything more open than a lot of your other companies. And if they were to shut it down by having a process like that, I think it would hurt some people that are looking for a good way to get in and a good way to make contacts to help them get in.
Well,
I see there were
frankly,
a lot of comments in the question or in the event about how Google I/O can also be used for people that want to become developers, and that's a good point. I didn't really think of that. I almost wish Google would do it the Apple way and not give free things away. Because that's my main issue.
Yes,
People
and
go there just for the free things.
free things are great. I think it would be better if they continued with the aspect of, okay, this is something that is coming out soon. You can sign up to buy it earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe give a small discount on it. I love the free things, but at the same time, those are what get more of your non-developers and people that have no interest in becoming developers or having anything to do with developers from joining.
Okay.
But
and I think honestly, just having it set up as the lottery. I mean, at this point, it's like really the only way to do it because it's just a fiasco at this point. And I mean, even Apple's doing it too with WWDC, and that actually just wrapped up yesterday, I believe, with the lottery stuff. But I think it makes sense, especially if it's a lottery, because you can get new developers, you can get people who've been doing it forever, and I think with the lottery, it kind of, I don't know. I mean, granted, they're going to be broadcasting so much stuff, so it's even if we can't get in, we're still going to be able to take advantage of what Google's doing because of the broadcast, and I think it's. I mean, granted, you don't get to go out to California and you don't get the free stuff, but at the end of the day, I mean, that's not that's not what Google I/O is for, and I can't remember what it's called, but all over the place, people will broadcast, and groups will get together, and I can't remember the name of it, but
I think it's Extended or something like that.
Yeah, Google I/O Extended, yeah, and it's
that's what it is.
and
That's
and
what
I
we
think,
did last year.
I mean, heck, I mean, it's just, I mean, the people who are, even if they don't get in, the people who are really wanting to take advantage of it are still going to be able to take advantage of it, because the Google I/O Extended events, that's what it's called.
Yeah.
But I think I actually like it this way because I know last time I was just full of anxiety and then I was so angry I didn't get a ticket. I think this time I'm like, just wasn't lucky.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what do you guys expect in I/O? I know obviously we're going to see a lot of wearable stuff. It'd be crazy for them not to talk about glass as a consumer product, and they're going to obviously talk about Android Wear. But what else do you guys think they would actually talk about, or not talk about, but like discuss, release?
I know one of the popular things right now that people are thinking about is a more unification between Android and Chrome. So I think there's a chance we might see something to kind of bridge that gap. They're probably going to talk more about a newer design type thing. I know whenever we went back in 2012, they had an entire day just devoted to like Android design sessions.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with them looking like they're about to push a new design kind of standard with Android, they're probably going to have a lot of design sessions again this year. And might even be something worthy of a keynote to an extent.
Yeah, I would definitely say design. I mean, we've been seeing a lot of rumors with the design stuff going around that that Gmail app that's been redesigned, and also like this might be going way out there, but just the fact that web technologies are growing so much, and obviously Google is a huge web company. I feel like either this year or next year we're going to see kind of a push, because I know even Microsoft is doing it. You could sit there and take a HTML5 app and turn it into a native app, and I would like to see that, because that can bring on more developers, because there's tons of people who are experienced in HTML, and just things like Titanium and PhoneGap are kind of popular now. So I personally would love to see Google come out with I don't know, some tools to make it easier to take a web app and make it into a native app, especially with this, if they're going to have tighter integration with Chrome and mix the two. Kind of feel like this kind of kind of a requirement in a way, but.
So do you think that there's gonna be like native web apps literally running, like you'll see like a shortcut on your phone, almost like if you had an app on your phone? Do you think it's gonna run like that, so that you can build an app so that you can open it on your Chrome browser on your computer at the full screen, full interactive, whatever they build, and then you open it on your phone or tablet and you can still see it, but it's shrunk down to a mobile version, almost responsive, but still made for mobile.
I would love to see that. I'm not sure if that's what they're going to do, but I would love to see that. And that's just, I feel like, because I know there's the guy behind Chrome. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he's talked about having the tighter integration, and Nathan touched on it a little bit. Just having tighter integration overall makes sense because granted, I mean they're ready. They had Google TV, now they have Chromecast now. There's rumors of going, Android TV, and then kind of just, I guess, just kind of integrating everything a lot tighter would make a lot of sense to me compared to what it's been, and because it seems like Google likes to have some experiments, and then Google TV to me seemed like it was just a big experiment for something greater. Chromecast. But then we have Android TV, apparently, that might be coming out, according to The Verge. And I don't know. To me, it makes sense because what is it? I don't know, it just makes sense to have a huge tighter integration and make it easier for developers to be able to develop for Chrome and Android.
So speaking of Android TV, what do you think they could do with that platform that they failed at with Google TV? Like, what integration of Android could you add to your TV so that it would actually be more popular, be more useful, be used, period?
I think the problem that Google TV hit a lot was, one, getting developers in general on board with that. It didn't happen. And I'm thinking if they were to go the integration route that we're talking about, they might make it where you can still develop for Google TV, well, Android TV, on like an Android device, as opposed to needing an entire set box in general to develop for it. I think also trying to not rely on the TV manufacturers to push it would be another good route. Google TV didn't really seem to get pushed too much by Google. They kind of just looked at it as it was something that would happen. At least from what I remember, it didn't seem to have much of a marketing push behind it, like what you're seeing with all of Google's more recent products. So their Nexus stuff, their Chromecast stuff. They've been really pushing that ecosystem, while previously they didn't do that as much. So Android TV will more likely have that to trying to help it not fail.
But my thing is basically the Chromecast is the Nexus Q, but more stable and more reliable, in my opinion at least. When they just released that not even a year ago, and it's a huge success, they just released in other markets other than the US, a lot of major app manufacturers or app developers are making it so that their content works on Chromecast. What's the need for something like this? I know with my Google TV, I used to use it so that I could watch YouTube videos on my TV or something like that.
Yeah.
Now I have a $35 dongle that I plug in the back, and when I want to, I just hit a little button on my phone, and all of a sudden all my content is on my TV.
And it's what, like the number one, or actually I'm looking at it now, the second or best seller on Amazon. Well, right now the best seller is Amazon TV, Fire TV. But anyways, I mean, just the fact that it's $29. I mean, even if they came out with something that was just $50, I think it would sell well. Because I would think it would make sense to sell it as a separate dongle like the Chromecast and have separate options, just like you have in the Play Store with different devices. I mean, it would make sense because, I mean, granted, if somebody decides to go with a quote unquote Android TV, I would think that Google would still allow you to Chromecast to the device or cast to from your devices. It would make sense, and then also have that full. I mean, because honestly, I feel like I'm a little spoiled because I have Xbox One and I've had a Roku and stuff like that, and I love my Chromecast, but that having that interface and not having to use my device is nice, and I feel like it's one of the better options in my opinion. I like the Chromecast, but if I just had the interface, it would be nice, and especially with Google's focus on design and everything, and what I've seen so far, I like it. So.
But my question is what would the Android TV do that's different than the Chromecast? Would it just be so that you could have like a second screen for gaming, or because
function on its own? And really, have we really seen any games come through Chromecast?
A few. There's a few.
I mean, it seems like having an actual box on there would be better for a game than streaming content through Wi-Fi, because a game you don't really want any delay on. And although Chromecast is pretty good at not having too much of a delay, there is still one. I mean, let's be realistic. Whenever you're using a YouTube video, right? If you use your phone to go to a different spot of the video, it's not an instantaneous thing on the TV where it's going to do that. I've even had it sometimes where it stops the video. So I think it's kind of going on partially having it actually be a power device will enable it to do more. Really, though, I think it's just, I mean, by going with the name of Android TV, they're kind of going with the thing that Google has done with Android in general, and that is you get choice with Android. You're not just using one thing for, that's it. You actually get a few different choices, typically, no matter what device you're looking at. You look at even Android Wear, they announced it with Motorola's Moto 360, along with LG's G Watch, right? So they didn't have it where they just announced one watch. The only product they've really done that with recently where they don't have other alternatives has been Glass and Chromecast. And so I think this is giving another alternative. Chromecast is great if you're looking for something affordable and that can do relatively bare minimum things. So streaming Netflix, Hulu, YouTube, things like that, right? If you just want it simple. Now, if you want an actual set-type box that has the interface, such as what Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, all of those things give you, then you go with Android TV, and it gives you all of that. So it actually allows them to directly compete as well. While Chromecast, I mean, you look at the things, the biggest thing Chromecast has for it is its price. It doesn't necessarily have the features of all the others. Part of that is that there's still apps that need to be developed for it. But still, there's some of those companies that aren't going to develop those apps. Somebody who wants to use Amazon's ecosystem isn't going to be able to use Amazon's ecosystem on a Chromecast. Now, theoretically, depending on how it goes, they might be able to do it on Android TV, depending on how it does apps. So
yeah, and honestly too, I mean, I know like the way that even Google kind of advertises Chromecast is, it's not really meant to be a complete platform. It's meant to be an extension of your device.
Yeah.
And then something like I'm sorry, not Google TV, but Android TV would kind of fill the void where, Google can really offer their own content to the users, and because the Play Store, it just makes sense for them to do that so they can. I mean, granted, they would be able to sell more television shows, and I mean, I don't buy television shows or movies from the Play Store very often, and to be honest with you, but if
I'm with you there.
if I had an Android TV, it's just one click away with a remote, or even a tablet or whatever they decide to do with it. But it's going to, and also I think just I know Chromecast is gaining a little bit of momentum with developers, but it's going to be a lot easier if you take the Android platform and put it on TV for developers. I mean, especially, I don't know. I mean, it just makes sense. I mean, it's kind of weird at the same time that they would come out with both, but there seems to be a lot of advantages with using Android TV.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the only problem they're going to really hit with Android TV is that it's kind of got, and this sounds stupid saying, but it's kind of got bad juju with it. You know, Google TV did not really support its developers, and it pretty much bombed, even though it was guaranteed that it was going to be the next sliced bread type thing of this industry. And so Google will have to find a way to make the people that are interested in developing on that platform really decide to go for their platform over something like Amazon Fire TV. Because, I mean, looking on Google Plus, a bunch of people that I know that have tried Google TV from a developer standpoint have already ordered, and some of them even received Amazon's new set box.
So before we go to our next question or next topic, we have a question from the audience, and it looks like Lisa is asking, what does a girl's phone look like? I guess from like a consumer standpoint or from a manufacturer standpoint.
A girl's phone. Okay, that's actually I've talked to friends of mine about this before, where I know one of them is always annoyed that they can't find a good phone with a smaller screen. And that's not saying all girls want a smaller screen phone necessarily, but I think currently the phone market definitely is geared more towards guys. I think we can all agree on that. Just how they market the different devices. The only thing I've ever seen really marketed towards girls directly has been one of HTC's phone. I think it was the HTC Charm a while back, and that thing failed miserably.
It was all purple.
It was like pink or purple. Yeah.
Well, I'd say
completely misjudged that market. I would say a girl's phone would be something with maybe a smaller form factor. I would think a physical keyboard, because, well, nails don't do well on a capacitive screen. Nails do terribly on a capacitive screen. So I don't think it would be much different from any other phone we carry, but I think that market would be more so looking for something that's smaller and has a keyboard that's easier to use.
Well, I would say that the market, I mean, isn't that big, but if you kind of look, like you have the Moto X. I mean, you can pretty much customize that thing any way you want. I mean, yeah. even the the Moto G. I mean, this thing's tiny.
Yeah.
But you can switch the back up, and I mean, granted, you can't do much more than that, but I think. I don't know. I don't think it would have to be too distinctive as far as, hey, this phone's for girls because it has a keyboard. Like
exactly. It doesn't. Yeah. It's not something where it's going to be, oh, well, this is a girl's phone, so it's going to have a keyboard on it.
Yeah. And I think for any company, it would make sense to like what Motorola is doing, to have a device that you can customize to your liking. If you're a football fan, you can have that slammed on the back of your device, or whatever color you like. I mean, there's so much on there, and it's ridiculous. Even wood grain, even though I hate wood grain, but I mean that's an option. And
ebony on the Moto X looks sick.
Well, in my opinion, I love how you're saying the Motorola is allowing you to customize it.
Yeah.
I think going back to your comment about the HTC phone, I'm kind of glad phone manufacturers aren't marketing specific phones anymore to the sex, because
so bad.
It makes it awkward almost. It's like, yes, they're making devices a lot bigger, and sometimes stereotypically that's harder for women to use, but I think they need more variety. I like how Samsung has different colors so you can choose, but I agree that Motorola is in the right direction, or Lenovo, or whoever they are now, is in the right direction and just allowing
Motonova.
allowing the customer to just do whatever they want.
Well, see, like my mother, for example, and my sister, they both have Samsung Galaxy S4s, and they love it just because it's white, and they can put on a folio case that's pink, and they're all set. Like I think I don't know. Like I agree. Like having a separate market just wouldn't make sense. Like I mean, to me, honestly, I mean, I don't know if it's just because I'm a guy, but I like a device because I like a device. If a device is, like say the Nexus, it's the Nexus, you can get it in red, and it almost looks pink to some people. Like, if you like it, get it. Like, who cares if it looks like a girl's phone or a guy's phone or whatever. Like, honestly, I mean, this thing's super tiny compared to the Nexus, but this thing's fantastic. Like, it's just, I don't know. That's just maybe it's just because I'm a guy and I don't understand. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know.
I think I agree entirely, and I think it's a bad idea for any of the companies to market it directly just based on gender. If I remember correctly, that HTC Charm phone was whenever they started their fall, and it really didn't go over well. It was something where they actually got a lot of flack for making that phone because it was just like, what, so I'm a girl, I like pink?
Well, what also came with the packaging for that phone was a little dongle that you...
yeah, a little dongle that I got on the purse.
And so that you get a little notification.
That was actually kind of cool, though, you have to admit.
It was cool,
I
but
want a dongle.
they limited the market, and they also said, women like this. This is what women want.
And that's where they went wrong. I think, everything's going to is kind of already gender neutral. I do think if a company wanted to get more of a female following on a device, though, looking at a smaller device or a physical keyboard device that isn't made as something from last year's technology like all of your mini devices are, even though they don't need the extra space to have that, same processor, the Galaxy S5 Mini is going to suck when compared to the Galaxy S5. That's how it's been in the past, and that's how it's going to continue, unfortunately, unless they change it. But I think by making those smaller phones, if they made them actually comparable, then that might get more of a female following.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, like, you look at the iPhone, for example, like the iPhone 5C, like, there's so many different color choices. I've seen the baby blue. I've seen women with the baby blue. I've seen guys with the baby blue.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen guys with the white, girls with the white. My wife has the
guys with the salmon.
Yeah, my wife has that one, but she like, I had to buy her a case recently, and she said, buy me a black case. I want to cover this up. So she has a black case, and so I mean maybe just, I don't know. I think to me it seems like a market that doesn't necessarily need to really be there. I mean, even having a phone that's marketed straight to guys, like, well, I don't. You're losing half your market right there. So it doesn't make sense for a company to do that. But like I said, it may just be me. I don't understand it. I don't know. But
basically,
I'm right there with you.
Just companies need to offer different choices. Motorola is the best at that because they just say, here's every little aspect of your phone, change it, whatever color. But then Samsung does a good job where they do colors: white, black, blue, red, whatever. It's companies like I think Sony, like, their phone is one distinct thing. You either get that one or you don't.
Pretty much. Now, to kind of tie this in with other modern things, I think Project Aro will be perfect for both genders, but will definitely allow if a girl or a guy wants a specific feature on their phone that they're not necessarily getting by something else on the market. I think Project Aro will bridge that gap. Once again, Motorola.
Well,
although that's technically all Google now, huh?
Yeah, that's now part of the special projects or technologies group at Google. What I love about Project Ara, since we're switching to this topic now, is that all their videos, they've been talking about working with 3D printer people so that you buy the different pieces, but then you can snap on whatever top casing that you want.
Yeah.
So
Make it look how you want it.
you can either buy design, you can buy different colors, or if you have a 3D printer, if you're lucky enough, you can just print whatever else you want.
Hey, there is a $300 one that's really nice that was just done on Kickstarter yesterday.
So that, like,
Within
15 minutes, or like,
in 11 minutes, it had reached its funding, and within 7 hours, it had over $700,000 worth of funding. Their goal was $50K.
Guys, we are in the wrong business.
No, you're never in the wrong business for 3D printers.
Well, I'm saying we need to get in that business.
no, if I had, because I heard about it early in the morning when they still had the $200 model. If I had that type of money lying around, if I wasn't saving it for some other technology pieces, I would have definitely bought it.
Well, if you think about it, I mean, if they're able to make 3D printers that cheap, it won't be long until we can, go into Best Buy and pick up a printer like it's nothing, and the next thing we know, you buy a MacBook, you get one for free at the Apple Store or something. Like I don't think it's that far away. Like, there's so many benefits to 3D printing, and I know, casing for phones. Like, I know a guy, like they basically what they sell phone cases, and what they do is they print them out. They just print them out. Like, that's so cheap and so easy. And I think with like Project Aura, like, it's going to definitely. I know for me, it's going to be kind of annoying because I'll be wanting to change my casing every 5 minutes because I'm so indecisive. But I mean, even like that's one thing I think about when I think about Project Aura is like every single time there's a new piece that comes out or a new part, I'm going to want to buy it.
That's the point. You can. You don't have to buy a whole entire device now. Now you get to spend all of your money and more of your money in a different way.
See, I have a 3D printed case for my old iPod that I made at one of my older jobs, and it was the coolest thing. I just found the thing on the Makerverse universe or whatever, printed it out, and within an hour I had a pretty sturdy case. I mean, I don't know if this is going to protect it that well, but at least I could change what it looks like. And with the newer technology, like this was printed on a MakerBot 1, the wood design.
That old thing.
Ones where you could do the dual extraction or extrusion or whatever, you could get tons of colors. You can start customizing the hell out of your case.
Okay, get this. What if I just thought of this randomly, and it probably never happened, but imagine, like, say, Project Aura, like Google had 3D printing vending machines, like locally, like a Redbox machine or something. You can print out the part. You can print out the casing and go pick it up, and you spend $20 or whatever to get what you get a whole backend for your phone, and you can design it any way you want. You don't have to worry about it being sent to you or anything like that. You just go pick it up. Yeah, we need to patent that. You're right.
I'm imagining it looking like one of those Coke machines that have gotten more popular, where you're able to choose whatever flavoring you want mixed into your soda.
Well, I'm saying you could do it that way, or you can just design it on the internet and then go pick it up 5 minutes later, like
That'd be cool.
I'm dreaming, but that.
Somebody should do that at a mall. You know how they have all those kiosks in the middle of the mall? Just be like, hey, do you want us to make you something?
That's what we need to do. That's what we need to do. We need to buy 3D printers, they can go on AndroidMeter and design a case for their phone, their girl phone, and then get a guy case for it. Or, if they have a guy phone, they can get a girl case.
So, besides the casing and 3D printing in the Project Aura, what else do you guys think about the phone? Obviously, it's going to be cool that we can change out the pieces, but how expensive will buying a new screen be? How expensive will throwing in a new processor? Because these all have to be custom made. Is not proprietary, because I'm guessing Google will open source this some way so that any company that wants to get in on the chip manufacturing can do it. But how expensive will they go so that people will still buy them and still upgrade their devices?
I wish Max was here too to talk about this, because I know he does repairs. I've done repairs.
Well, I would say I think I remember reading something or watching something. Them like the guy behind project, one of the guys behind Project Aura, pretty much saying that he's hoping that this will kind of open the market up to the point where it's super easy for manufacturers to make a part, and and there's going to be enough competition to where you can buy a screen for $50 or whatever you have to pay for it, and then and go from there.
Yeah. I don't think the prices will be too bad. I mean, it depends on how they approach it, but I would think the costs, I mean, oh, we lost Eric. Um, I think the costs associated with it might even drop because you're no longer targeting a bunch of different cables for every separate screen, right? You've got one type of plug that it basically plugs into on the base phone.
See, what I'm worried about is that when the phone blocks video first came out, he talked about how there'd be like some kind of safety screw at the bottom, so you would unscrew it, you'd put all your components in, then you'd screw it back in so that it could stay in place.
Yeah.
It almost looks like from all the videos that they're gonna stick with that magnet. Yes, it looks secure enough to like transfer data and keep everything going and running, but I'm almost worried about throwing this thing in my pocket and all of a sudden you pull it out, you actually pull out your CPU, your phone's.
I don't think that'll happen. I mean, if they do the interlocking design right, then it will probably be very similar to in function to the jaw clamps that you actually have in your current devices, which so whenever if you pull apart a phone, right, you've got a few different things. You've got kind of like socket type plugs where they actually you have the cable, you have the socket, and they actually plug into each other. But then you have other ones where you basically just have a ribbon cable and it just slides straight into this thing and it clamps down on it. And I'm guessing they'd probably do a method like that. And those things are probably what break a lot of your cables if you're not sure what you're doing when you're opening up a device the most, because they clamp down pretty securely. So
I understand what you're talking about. I understand where that could go, but it just looks like they have magnets.
Right now it might. Right now it might. I mean, whenever you're prototyping it, I'm sure you'd use different things than what you'd use in the long run. I mean, you even look at what was the name of that other really cool phone, the one that was spatially aware? Come on. You should know it. We wanted to get one.
The 3D scanner one.
Yeah. Anybody know the name?
So you talking about the Google one that just came out?
Yeah, where they only had 200 of them.
Project Tango.
There it is, Tango. So, you know, the final version of that phone is not going to look like that. It's going to function differently too. And so I think what we see in the videos right now are good ways to show us progress, but it's by no means what the final thing is going to be. I still think there's going to be a year or two before we actually see Project Aura hit consumer markets. Another good example. Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say, like, magnets. You can get some pretty strong magnets, and you can if they can figure out a way, and I know there are ways where you can start and stop a magnetic connection, and just I don't know. Like if you power off your device, totally power off your device, and press a button, and it the magnet I can't talk, and the connection just loosens up, because I do know there are some really strong magnets out there. And so if they can find a way, if that's what they decide to use as magnets, it makes sense. Like, from some of the stuff I saw, I thought it was kind of a cool idea. I mean, granted, the ones that they're showing right now are just 3D printed plastic bottles and stuff. And so I think, as far as saying that the magnets won't work, like, I honestly feel like I've seen some strong magnets out there, and I know if it's done right, it will work. And that's the thing too. It's up to manufacturers as well, because if you're buying all these different parts, I don't know if they've gone this far into it, but if you have all these different types of parts, you might have a weak magnet on one, and then and then a super strong one on the other, and it would make, I don't know, I kind of go back and forth on it because it would make sense just to have a connector that they all use. Just like everything uses HDMI these days. Like I know it's kind of a bad comparison, but like just
Even
have a
Apple uses
connector.
HDMI now.
Yeah. So exactly, and see that's the thing. Like if you just have just a certain connector on each part, it would make sense because I think it's the only way it would work well. At least if you're going to saturate that market, you better saturate it well, and make sure that you're no matter what kind of part you buy, it works on the device.
I agree.
Okay, so going to the next thing that's been in the news, there's the OnePlus One phone, which is supposed to be the greatest next thing. They're going to put a lot of work on the design, hardware and software. But the specs just leaked out, or not leaked out, they announced it. This could be like what's the processor?
801, isn't it? The Snapdragon 801.
That's going to be like 2.5 gigahertz, quad-core gigahertz processor. But then it's also going to have 3 gigs of RAM. I loved it when my phone came with 2 gigs. That made it the absolute best phone ever. I think my first one with 2 gigs was the Nexus 4. And it made it run buttery smooth, use Google's term. And I almost don't think 3 gigs is needed yet. When 2 gigs was introduced, I felt lag in my phone. I'm not seeing that need yet. Maybe on tablets, but even there, I've been great with 2.
I think part of this is doing it for the sake of doing it and see what happens. I know that apps are now being programmed in a manner where they take advantage of your processor. If it's a beefed up processor, they're taking advantage of you having more RAM at your disposal. And so by upping the RAM in the phone, I mean, is it needed right now? Not necessarily. Just like a 64-bit processor isn't really needed right now in a phone. But does it change what we can do soon by them introducing those and having the willingness to introduce them while it's not needed? I think so. It's kind of like you look at a lot of your computer processors right now. Most of them, if people bought them or their RAM, they're not going to know what to do with them. You have that option of having more or less. I have 16 in mine. I've built ones with 8. But, not everybody needs that much. But just because somebody doesn't, why not have a computer that can do it? Right?
It's kind of like how 1080p screens came to be in phones, is what you're saying. It's like,
yeah,
at the time, it's now like the 2K screen on the Find 7, where
give me 4K.
Where it's not being used yet, but if the standard is slowly going out there, it's gonna catch on somewhere, and eventually it will be the standard. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, I mean, that's what happened with 2 gigs. I know some people are like, oh, cool, we're doing 2 gigs, but then a lot of people are like, the freak will I need 2 gigs in my phone for? I only have 4 gigs in my computer. Why do I need 2 gigs in my phone?
Yeah, I think like with this phone, like obviously, like the average user, Android user, isn't going to be buying this phone. Like, I think this phone is going to be for people like us, who always want the next best thing, and developers, and granted, I'm sure one of the Nexus phones down the line is going to have 3 gigabytes in the device too. Like, it's going to become the norm, and I guess they're trying to step it up a notch. And to me, it's kind of cool because, one, I want to see the freaking phone already. Stop teasing me. But also, like, what is the price point? They're saying it's not going to be over. It was like $300.
It's not going to be over $400, I believe, is what they said.
Yeah, and that's that is awesome. And I don't know. And I think it makes sense to have that in there. I mean, just because it's if you're buying a device, you don't want the device to be out of date in 3 months when the new Nexus comes out or the next big thing comes out. And I don't know. It just makes sense for developers, and it makes sense for power users to have a faster device. But I just want to see the freaking phone. So just show me the phone and stop trying to tease me or whatever. I'm gonna get tired of it and get bored of it by the time they show me the phone and be like, whatever.
You know what's gonna happen? That 3 gigabytes of RAM is gonna pique your interest again. I mean, you look at it; it's making us talk about it right now, right? It's like, is 3 gigabytes really necessary? It's making people talk about the device.
Well,
that's very true. But I was thinking the same thing this morning that Eric was saying, is that they started talking about it and leaking, giving details almost 2 months ago. And then they said that you'll find out so much more in March, and everyone got excited. And then when that date came in March, I think it was the day the HTC One was announced, they're like, the big announcement is that we'll actually announce it this day next month.
Whoever's in charge,
glass.
Whoever's in charge of their marketing needs to step back and realize, like, I don't know. I mean, just the fact that, like, I don't know. Maybe they just try to go on the hype train or something. To me, I just think it's kind of a big waste of time. I mean, especially, I mean, you have freaking Google I/O coming up. Apple's going to obviously release new devices soon. Like, all the competition is, jumping ahead. Maybe they've just seen what comes out and say, hey, let's up that. I don't know, but like, I mean, honestly, like my Nexus 5. I mean, this thing is super fast. I don't have any problems with it ever, and so it's like.
You got the red one.
No, I didn't get the red one.
Oh,
it's
a
case to make it look like the red one because I was super angry, and then Spygen came out with that, and I was like, okay, I can get by with that, but anyways, it's like, I mean, to me, 2 gigabytes of RAM right now is fine. Like, everything I run on my device runs fine and smooth. Like, I don't have any issues. Granted, I don't have a bunch of bloatware. I don't know. I hate bloatware and I hate extra skins. Like, I will never own a Samsung device. And the only Samsung device I ever owned was the Nexus, the Galaxy Nexus, and that thing was a piece of crap in my opinion. But anyways, that's kind of off subject. But I think, like, just having the 2 gigabytes right now is fine with me. Like, I wouldn't. I won't be upgrading to this device just because it has 3 gigabytes of RAM. But that's just me. I don't know. I mean, I am a power user. I use my device like crazy, but I just don't see the point until applications and games are really taking advantage of it. And honestly, I don't know if we would really see that until a lot of the bigger players are releasing devices with 3 gigs of RAM and higher processors and stuff. I don't think they're going to make that much of a difference in the market. And I hate to say that we have all these big players and these little guys can't do crap half the time, but like I don't know. That's just me. I just think that it's cool. It's awesome, and the fact that it's going to be under $400 is cool. But if you guarantee it, no one will buy it if it was $600.
Yeah, I like that a company could just come out, partner with CyanogenMed, and be like, okay, we're gonna bring out a kick-ass phone. It's gonna be amazing, and we'll try to sell it. I do see a lot of developers getting it. No one besides people that are really in the tech community know even about these leaks or rumors or anything like that, and that happens a lot. And it's not going to be a Samsung, it's not going to be HTC where you're going to see it at your AT&T store where the average consumer is going to go see it and be like, ooh, this is nice, I'm going to use it. But it's a great starting off point, I think.
Exactly. And I think that also carries into the whole thing on, we were asking why 3 gigabytes. Well, they want to at least make sure the market that they have a chance at is interested. So developers that are interested in doing more might be more likely to buy it. And if that gets them enough buys, enough sales for that, then cool. They've pushed developers forward in what they can do. They've gotten people to purchase their phone, and maybe on their next device, they can actually target normal consumers. Because you're not going to see this at AT&T or T-Mobile. It's going to be very similar to the original Nexus 1. I think would be a good comparison, except that had Google pushing it at least. But the Nexus 1, if I remember correctly, was never sold at AT&T or T-Mobile, right? It was just you had to buy it straight from Google.
Yeah.
And
wasn't the place for it.
I think it's kind of going to be similar with that. But that was the first really developer-centric phone from Google, so...
Man, I remember getting that phone and being the happiest person in the world.
I remember getting the Droid, the original Droid, about a month before that phone came out. And then it came out, and me seeing it, me being like, dang. I want all of the software on that phone, and I want that cool little glowing trackball.
Yeah, I went from the G1 to that. It was a huge jump. I can tell you what, it was awesome.
I believe it.
Okay, so one of the last things we were going to talk about was Android Wear. We touched on it earlier that they announced it, a month or two back now? Mm-hmm. How long has it been? And they announced both the Motorola 360 and the LG G Watch. I'm almost 100% confident it will show up at Google I/O. That'd be crazy not to talk about it, not to actually announce it. I mean, both manufacturers have announced that watches will be out by the end of Q2, and LG confirmed they'll be out by July, which matches up perfectly with the date of Google I/O being the later days of June. I really like how Google handled Android Wear. It was never leaked. It was never really talked about. But when it did
mentioned in patents, but there wasn't any visible leaks that showed that it was for sure happening until it happened.
Yeah, but I like from the developer standpoint compared to Glass, they brought it out. They literally said, "This is Android Wear. Developers sign up here. We will send you an file that you need to develop with, and you have everything." In my opinion, Google or whatever specific team made the watch almost did a huge jump over what the Glass team did.
Glass still doesn't have a simulator.
Exactly. I mean, the first day that they announced it, they gave developers more than what we have for Glass as developers.
Mm-hmm.
We still have a pre-beta developer kit that, yes, you can build native Android apps and then just make them for the screen size, but whatever team, like I was saying, did Android Wear is just fantastic for developers.
Yeah.
They gave everything a nice little package and said, "Here, run with it."
I would agree with you on everything there.
I think they're really, honestly, it makes sense for them to put a lot more care into this because of. I'm not saying that Google Glass is a failure whatsoever. I don't own a pair, so I don't have a pair of Google Glass, but I think this is going to be something that more people are going to have. It makes sense.
There's less social stigmas.
Yeah, and I was at a T-Mobile store a couple of months ago, and people were all freaking out about the Galaxy Gear, and I think it's a piece of junk, but I think this is kind of Google's opportunity to, because so far from what we've seen, granted we've only seen 2 devices. We've seen one from Motorola and we've seen one from LG. They're not filled with extra skins or anything like that. I think this is opportunity for Google to work with manufacturers to really kind of have the same look and feel throughout all the different devices.
And that's what I'm saying with the Nexus program is that while I love the different companies making different hardware, once I think it was Ice Cream Sandwich came out, I started saying we need to get rid of all these custom skins. yes, it gives the user different experiences based off of phones, but I think Android itself is at a point where it's
It
beautiful
doesn't need
enough
it.
and user-friendly enough where you don't need all these extra little details. Yes, it's cool that Samsung makes it so that if your eyes are still staring at the screen, it doesn't dim, or HTC has
Hey,
their...
that thing's actually pretty sick. I see
Oh,
you
no,
shaking your
I'm
head
not.
at it.
I'm
No,
not
I'm
saying.
saying to Eric.
I like that feature because they also
Yeah.
put it in the LG phones, and I liked it on when I was using those phones. But I think if Google wants to get rid of this stigma of fragmentation, they really need to start pushing that. Like
Maybe have it where people push more, they can do their custom features, not as much a custom skin.
exactly.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I think with this, they're pushing that because I mean, to me it makes sense, especially since how simple the UI is. Like why I don't understand why you would want to mess with that much. I mean, granted, Sony has said that they're not going to jump on this right now because they've spent so much time taking Android and putting it on their device. But like I think one, it'll be good even for manufacturers. Like if you have the Moto 360 and the LG G Watch, like they're two different devices. One is obviously going to be more expensive than the other, and obviously people are still going to have choice in it. And I'm always like I've always loved having good old just plain old Android on my device. Like that's why I've loved the Nexus line. But if Google, I don't know, there's obviously going to be a benefit to have that because it's going to be the same experience. If it's the same experience across all of the devices, because they're watches. They're going. So far, we've seen two different watches, but the only difference is one is round and one is a square, or I think rectangle, square, or whatever. But like, I know for me personally. And just having those skins, like to me, like when I saw when I messed with the Galaxy Gear and stuff, like I just wasn't impressed with it. And then when I saw that the Moto 360 dropped, like I was just like, holy crap! Where do I feed my money at? Like
Everybody was
Yeah.
like that.
See, but that's where people look at it as a kind of developer and also a hardware side. Is that Google made it so that you could either have round or you can have a square. There's so that you can have your choice. Manufacturers can make both. They can make one or the other. They can do whatever.
I want a triangle.
I think that was on The Office or something. There was the triangle.
yeah.
But Google did that with phones and tablets. Like if you look at the Nexus 7 and that form factor, you have the two slide downs that either side of the screen. You go to your your Nexus 10, your 10-inch tablets. It's slightly different. They made it so that the OS can adapt to whatever a manufacturer wants. I think that's to go back to we need stock everywhere. It works perfectly. Just OEMs need to start doing that. And I'm glad Google's making all these people or companies put powered by Android now, because people don't realize they're running Android anymore. If people are using Samsung devices, think they're using the Galaxy. They would never use Android because they love Galaxy.
Yeah, like I've read so many different comments like on Reddit and stuff like that where people have said, yeah, in my country, no one knows what Android is, but they're all using an Android device, like because you have a Samsung full of everything that they put on there, and people are just thinking they're using an Android, or I'm sorry, not Android, but a Samsung phone. And I think,
And
like
if you go to, sorry.
Like going back to like the Moto X and Moto G, and I mean, having or even just having a super stock-like experience, like I think benefits the manufacturer because I'm more likely to buy a device that I know that one that I'm used to. I'm used to I don't like having a bunch of extra stuff thrown on there. That's just, I mean, again, like it might be us who love the stock stuff, but like I mean, I'll use my mother as an example again. I keep on talking about her, but anyways, like, I was showing her the UI and everything, like just how it is on the Nexus, and I put the same, I was able to put, you can put the same Google, I can't remember, it was Google Experience or Google Search Experience, whatever it's called. Like I installed it on her Galaxy, and that's what she's using now, and she loves it. Like, she likes it better than what Samsung has on there, and so
TouchWiz.
yeah, and so it's like I think like with Android Wear, again, having that experience is the same across the board. It's going to help Google. It's going to help the manufacturers, and people with them buying devices. They're buying a device because watches, for example, are a fashion thing for the most part. A lot of people wear watches. They'll match their watch with their belt and their shoes. I mean, I'm not that crazy, but it's like. They could focus more on the design and the fashion aspect of the watch instead of the software experience. Like, do I have to jump to this to get this experience? Do I need to go here to get that experience? Do I need to do this and that? Do I need to have this right here that has that can scan my eyeballs or whatever? And I think I don't know. I think it will just everyone will benefit for the most part for it being stock. And then just my favorite thing was when. In the video where the chick is opening her garage door. I want to see more stuff like that. That's what I want to see. I want to see Google integrate Nest and everything into Android Wear and be able to have full control. And back to the whole glass thing, like I think if they're gonna have a huge push on the wearables. And if they do well with watches, people might start to consider Google Glass and different types of wearables instead of just on your watch.
Yeah. Especially if they, and we've talked about this a little bit in the past, if they optimize Glass's OS to actually take into account Android Wear. They are putting Glass onto 4.4, and that's what Android Wear is running, right? It's 4.4.2. Isn't that what Android Wear is? You might want to fact check me on that real quick. But there's discussion that maybe they'll do that with Glass and actually kind of unify it with those platforms. What I'm waiting for, my next wearable that I will purchase, right, will be whenever they make a smartwatch with the Moto 360's form factor, so that round look, is completely independent of the phone, so it has its own radios in it, so it can pair with Glass. And I want it to have the e-paper display. I want it to have an e-ink type display because I don't want to press a button in order to see the time. Maybe that's just me, but
well,
it's a watch.
Apparently, you just flick your wrist and it lights up.
Well, with the Pebble, you flick your wrist and it works pretty good to light up the LED. And it's something where sometimes you still have to flick your wrist a couple times.
Just to go back.
And I don't want to be doing that to get the time.
As far as I can tell, it is running 4.4.2. See, I have my Pebble right here. I love that the battery life is over a week long.
Yeah, and it charges in what, like a half hour, maybe less?
Exactly. It takes no time at all to just have a week's worth of notifications, whatever the time on my wrist. I don't have to worry about it. But I don't think if they wanted to get into the consumer market and actually like be on everyone's wrists, I don't think it will work as an e-ink display.
I agree with you there. This is just me in fantasy land of Nathan wanting a watch that can replace my phone and that can run for at least a full day. And by full day, I mean 24 hours. I know I'm not necessarily up and about 24 hours, but I don't want to have to plug it in. I don't want to have a battery for it that I have to plug it into.
Well, let me ask you this. Like with the whole well, at least with the Moto 360, the whole idea is, well, they haven't said it, but apparently it's going to be wireless charging. Like, do you guys sleep with your watch on? I know I wouldn't sleep with the watch on. Like,
I sometimes sleep with my watch on. This thing's waterproof. I can do everything in it.
I'm just saying, like, I mean, to me, I look at it as, and it's not that hard to take it off my wrist and throw it on a wireless charger.
I agree.
And having another, thing to plug in. I know, like the Moto G apparently, or not the Moto G. I'm mixing the two names. The LG G Watch. For the back of it, it looks like it's some type of magnetic connector, like with the Pebble.
That purple hue.
Well,
that's on the Moto 360.
Yeah, on the Moto
360.
360.
I think that's a notification LED, and I want that notification LED.
Well, I know the pictures that leaked out today of the G Watch have the 5 pogo pins or however many there were. But when they did the hangout about talking about the 360s, they said they were going to introduce something revolutionary for charging. They said it's something that hasn't been seen on wearables as of yet.
You just throw it in your.
You know what I want it to be? I want it to be kinetic charging.
That'd be cool.
It's already in normal watches. Yeah! Just have it charge with you moving. Or one of those solar chargers that are built into the watch face where it just charges through light absorption. Those are such a trickle charge, though, that it probably would not charge a smartwatch, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't think it would. But, I mean, granted, honestly, if the battery can last throughout the day for me, like, I'm fine with it. Because I'm so used to that with my phone that, I don't know, like, it just doesn't really phase me.
That's fair. It's not a big problem. Like I said, it's more of Nathan being picky and whiny and spoiled by Pebble, like never having to charge.
That's why I didn't buy it, because I knew this was going to happen. I've been waiting every single day. Like, as soon as that came out, I screamed like a little girl because I was so excited. To see, like, because I've just been.
I'm imagining you with your beard screaming like a little girl.
Well, it didn't really happen like that. But, I said a few choice words in excitement, and
I get it.
And so it's like, I think like, with what Google's doing, I'm glad I didn't buy a Pebble, and because I remember almost buying one or trying to when the whole Kickstarter thing started. What was that? 2 years ago? A year ago? I don't remember how long ago.
That was
like that.
3 years
Quite
ago.
honestly, it's good you didn't support them through the Kickstarter because they kind of screwed everybody that supported them through the Kickstarter.
Well, apparently that's all that ever happened.
Before people on the Kickstarter got theirs from the Kickstarter.
Yeah, I remember that. But like, I think it's going to be cool just because even in that video, that Hangouts that they did. You see the guy just sitting there on his wrist going through everything. Like, to me, I'd rather have that instead of looking at every single notification on my phone. Like, I use Push Bullet on my, for my computer, and I hardly ever look at notifications while I'm using my computer. Like, and I feel like I'm going to do the same thing with my watch or with whatever I decide to get. And but yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity, and there's going to be a lot of cool things that are going to happen with it, and I'm glad to buy a Pebble.
That's fair. I'm jealous of Croupy's steel.
Yeah, that's a really nice watch. I've played with it.
It is a nice watch.
All right, well, we've gone over our hour.
Oops.
So this has been the second episode of the AndroidMeter Show. We'll be back next Tuesday for our third episode. Hopefully something other than the registration for Google I/O has happened by then, so have something to talk about. Thanks for everyone that's watching, and we'll talk to you guys later.